The blizzard howled against the panoramic windows of the Blackwood estate, rattling the glass like a desperate spirit trying to get in. Inside, the warmth was artificial, purchased with stolen money. Marcus stood at the head of the long mahogany table, a glass of vintage scotch trembling slightly in his hand. He checked the time on his wrist, a sleek, gold chronograph worth more than most people earned in a decade, but his eyes kept darting to the empty chair at the far end of the table. "He's not coming, Marcus," Elena said, her voice sharp enough to cut through the tension. She sat to his right, picking at a plate of hors d'oeuvres that looked more like plastic art than food. "Stop looking at the chair. It makes you look weak. The investors will be here in 20 minutes. Marcus swallowed the scotch in one burn. "I know. Elena rolled her eyes, the silk of her dress rustling like dry leaves. "It's the pipes. Old houses make noise in the winter. Focus. Tonight, we announce the redevelopment project. Once we sign the demolition order on the old boathouse, the past is buried. Literally." She was right. But she hadn't been there on the boat 3 months ago. She hadn't seen Elias's face when the railing, accidentally, gave way. She hadn't seen the dark, freezing water of the lake swallow him whole. And she certainly hadn't seen the object Marcus had tried to grab from Elias's wrist, the battered, ugly diver's watch that the old man had left to Elias instead of him. "You're right." Marcus straightened his tie, forcing the arrogance back into his spine. "To the future." 48 hours earlier, the first crack in Marcus's reality had appeared. He had been down in the wine cellar, cataloging the bottles for the auction. The cellar was a concrete box, buried deep in the earth, smelling of damp cork and dust. It was the only place in the house where the relentless wind couldn't be heard. Marcus was checking a crate of 1,945 Rothschild when he froze. Asterisk, tick, 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 asterisk. The sound was distinct. It wasn't the rhythmic hum of the climate control. It was the heavy, mechanical ticking of an old gear system. A sound he hated. "Hello?" Marcus called out, his voice echoing off the stone arches. Silence returned, thick and heavy. Marcus laughed nervously, shaking his head. He reached for the bottle, but his hand stopped midair. Sitting on the dusty shelf, right next to the wine, was a single, wet footprint. It wasn't a muddy boot print. It was bare, and it was wet. Marcus stepped back, his heart hammering a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He touched the stone floor. Dry. He looked at the ceiling. No leaks. He looked back at the footprint. The water was pooling slightly, smelling faintly of lake algae and decay. "Very funny, Elena," he shouted, spinning around. "Trying to spook me before the big vote? Grow up." He stormed out of the cellar, slamming the heavy iron door behind him. He didn't see the shadow detach itself from the darkest corner of the room, nor did he see the figure pick up the 1,945 Rothschild. The figure wasn't a ghost. It was Elias. Elias was thin, his skin pale from weeks of living in the hidden prohibition tunnels that honeycombed the estate's walls. He wore a thick woolen sweater he'd scavenged from the attic and heavy boots wrapped in cloth to silence his steps. But for this moment, he had gone barefoot to leave the message. In his hand, he held the anchor the diver's watch. Its crystal was cracked, a spiderweb of glass over the face, but the movement was strong. Asterisk, tick, tick, asterisk. It was the only thing that had survived the fall into the lake with him. It was a tool, a compass, and now, a weapon. "Fear of irrelevance," Elias whispered to the dark, watching the door Marcus had just fled through. "That's your wound, brother. You need everyone to think you're the king, so I'm going to make you look like the jester." The haunting escalated with surgical precision. Elias didn't want to just scare Marcus. He wanted to dismantle him. He knew Marcus's schedule better than Marcus did. He knew that at 7 a.m., Marcus drank coffee in the sunroom. The next morning, Marcus walked into the sunroom, phone pressed to his ear. Yes, the demolition is approved. We just need the final signature at the gala. No, Elias's body hasn't been recovered. The lake is deep. It freezes over. Look, he's legally declared dead in absentia. It's done. He ended the call and reached for his favorite ceramic mug. It was gone. In its place sat a sealed jar of lake water. Murky, green, with a tangle of weeds floating at the bottom. Marcus recoiled, knocking a chair over. "Maid!" he screamed. The elderly housekeeper shuffled in, looking terrified. "Sir? Sir? Sir? Who put this here? Who is playing games?" Marcus pointed a shaking finger at the jar. I don't know, sir. I set your coffee just 5 minutes ago." "Liar!" Marcus grabbed the jar and hurled it against the wall. It shattered, splashing foul-smelling water onto the pristine Persian rug. Amidst the glass shards and weeds, something glinted. Marcus stopped breathing. He walked over, his shoes crunching on the glass. He bent down. It was a single link from a watch band. Stainless steel. Corroded by years, but unmistakable. It was a link from the diver's watch. "He's here," Marcus whispered, the color draining from his face until he looked like the snow outside. "He's not dead." "Sir?" Martha asked, stepping back. "Get out," Marcus roared. "Get out of my house." As Martha fled, Elias watched from the ventilation grate near the ceiling. He felt a pang of guilt for scaring Martha, but it was necessary. He needed Marcus isolated. He needed him paranoid. Elias checked the diver's watch. The pressure gauge was broken, but the time was accurate. 24 hours until the gala. 24 hours to turn the business genius into a raving lunatic. The snowstorm intensified as night fell, trapping the estate in a white void. The gala was set to begin in 3 hours. Marcus was in his study, trying to review his speech, but his hands were shaking so badly he couldn't read the text. He had fired the security team an hour ago. He was convinced they were letting Elias in. He had locked all the doors himself. He was armed. A small, pearl-handled pistol lay on the desk next to the demolition contracts. Asterisk, tick, 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 asterisk. The sound came from inside the wall. Marcus spun around, aiming the pistol at the bookshelf. "Come out. I know you're in there. I saw you fall. You couldn't survive that water." The ticking stopped. Then, a voice, hollow, distorted, as if coming through a long pipe, drifted into the room. Asterisk, "You never checked the water temperature, Marcus." Asterisk. Marcus fired. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. The bullet shattered a bust of Julius Caesar. "Show yourself." Asterisk. "You were always so focused on the gold." Asterisk. The voice continued, moving to the other side of the room now. Asterisk. "You never looked at the steel. The watch." Marcus. "It wasn't just a watch. It was the key." Asterisk. "The key to what?" Marcus screamed, spinning in circles. "It was junk. Dad left you junk because he hated you." Asterisk. "He left me the estate's secrets. The tunnels. The listening posts. I've heard every deal you made. I heard you tell Elena that you bribed the safety inspector to condemn the boathouse." Asterisk. Marcus ran to the wall and started pounding on the wood paneling. "You're lying! You're a ghost! I'm going crazy!" "Marcus?" The door opened. It was Elena. She looked at the gun, then at the shattered bust, then at her husband's wild, sweat-drenched face. Her expression wasn't one of concern. It was disgust. "Put the gun away," she hissed. "The investors are arriving. You look like a maniac." "He's in the walls, Elena. Elias, he's alive." Elena walked over and slapped him. The sound was sharp, shocking Marcus into silence. "Elias is dead. His body is at the bottom of the lake. You are having a breakdown because you are weak. Pull yourself together. If you blow this deal, I will leave you with nothing. Do you understand? Nothing. She turned and left, the scent of her expensive perfume lingering like a threat. Marcus stood there, panting. He looked at the gun. He looked at the contracts. He needed this deal. He needed to prove he was the strong one. He shoved the gun into his waistband and grabbed the papers. I'll bury you again, he whispered to the walls. I'll tear this whole house down, brick by brick. The gala was a display of excess. Crystal chandeliers, live string quartet, champagne flowing like water. The town's elite had gathered to witness the revitalization of the Blackwood estate. Elias watched from the shadows of the mezzanine balcony. He had cleaned himself up. He wore his father's old tuxedo, which he'd found in a cedar chest in the attic. It was slightly too big, but it made him look like a phantom from another era. He checked the diver's watch. 8 p.m. Showtime. Down below, Marcus took the stage. He looked terrible. His skin was gray, his eyes bloodshot. He gripped the podium as if it were a life raft. Welcome, Marcus croaked. The microphone feedback whined. He flinched visibly. Welcome to the future of Blackwood. The crowd applauded politely. Elena stood by the stage, smiling her shark smile. Tonight, Marcus continued, gaining a bit of momentum, we sign the order to demolish the old structures. We clear away the rot to build luxury. Elias moved. He didn't jump down. He didn't scream. He simply walked to the main breaker box, located in the utility alcove of the balcony. He opened the panel. He didn't cut the power. That would be too simple. Instead, he engaged the emergency override for the PA system, a feature his father had installed for civil defense drills decades ago. He plugged a small audio jack into the port. On stage, Marcus picked up the gold pen. With this signature, asterisk click, asterisk. The sound of the string quartet cut out. The lights flickered and dimmed to a murky, underwater blue. A sound filled the room, loud, rhythmic, amplified, to a deafening volume. Asterisk, tick, 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 asterisk. The crowd murmured, looking around. Marcus froze, the pen hovering over the paper. Then, a recording played over the speakers. It wasn't a ghostly whisper this time. It was crystal clear. It was the audio from the library, recorded 3 months ago. Asterisk. Voice of Marcus. Just push him. The railing is loose. No one will know. It's 30 degrees out. The shock will kill him before he drowns. Asterisk. Asterisk. Voice of Elena. Make sure you get the watch. The combination to the offshore accounts is etched on the back case. Asterisk. The room went deathly silent. Elena dropped her champagne glass. It shattered on the marble floor. Marcus looked up, his eyes scanning the darkness of the balcony. Turn it off, he screamed, his voice cracking. It's a deep fake. It's AI. Turn it off. Asterisk, tick, 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 asterisk. Then, a spotlight one Elias had rigged snapped on. It hit the top of the grand staircase. Elias stood there. He wasn't wet. He wasn't a ghost. He was alive, holding the diver's watch high in the air. You missed the combination, Marcus, Elias said. His voice wasn't amplified, but in the silence of the room, it carried like a bell. And you missed the fact that Dad upgraded the security system to record everything in the library. Marcus pulled the gun. The crowd screamed. Investors dove under tables. Elena lunged for Marcus, trying to stop him, but he shoved her aside. You're dead, Marcus yelled, aiming up at the balcony. I killed you. You tried, Elias said calmly. He didn't flinch. But you forgot the one thing Dad always taught us. The Blackwoods don't break under pressure. 5. Blackwoods. Sirens began to wail in the distance. Elias had called them 10 minutes ago. Marcus looked at the gun, then at the crowd, then at Elena, who was backing away from him with a look of pure self-preservation. He realized, in that freezing moment, that his fear had come true. He wasn't irrelevant because of Elias. He was irrelevant because he was a failure. He dropped the gun. It clattered on the stage, sounding miles away. The police led Marcus away in handcuffs. He wasn't screaming anymore. He was mumbling about water and ticking. Elena was being questioned in the corner, her lawyer already on the phone, but the recording was damning. Elias stood on the front porch, watching the flashing blue lights reflect off the snow. The wind had died down. The storm was breaking. He looked at the diver's watch. The glass was still cracked. The strap was still corroded. It was an ugly, broken thing. "You kept time," Elias whispered to the object. He wound the crown. Asterisk. Tick. 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 Asterisk. He wasn't just the keeper of the estate anymore. He was its survivor. He walked back inside, past the overturned tables and the spilled champagne. He had a lot of work to do. The boathouse needed repairs, and he had a feeling there were more secrets in the tunnels waiting to be found. But for tonight, the house was quiet. And for the first time in months, it was warm. If this story gave you chills, made you think, or just hit different, smash that like button for the karma. Subscribe for the next twist you'll never see coming. And comment the one moment that shocked you the most. We read every single one. See you in the next one, legends.